Okay, let's start again. Welcome everyone to Veterans Memorial Park in historic downtown Miamisburg. Last year we dedicated this park as Veterans Memorial Park, and you're going to see a lot of different changes take place in this park in the years ahead. There's going to be a committee appointed of veterans to work with our recreation department that will set some of the guidelines that are going to take place here. As with everything, I would like to make some introductions, and I'm going to get in trouble here probably, but we have a gentleman sitting right out here, Jack Krosky, a veteran, and he's 102 years old. Jack? Jack, thank you for your service not only to the country, but to this great city of Miamisburg. When I graduated a long time ago, Jack was president of the school board and handed me my diploma. So I'm glad he's still here. Introductions of some people that I think are supposed to be here. Niraj Antani, our state representative, right over here. We have several members of our city council, our vice mayor, Sarah Clark. We have Councilwoman Michelle Collins, Councilman Ryan Colvin, Councilman Tom Nicholas, Councilman John Stalder, and Councilman Greg Thompson. I just want to add a personal note. I would like to thank Randy Staley and Wayne Kern for all the work they do concerning veterans in this community. Our Parks and Recreation Department and the Miami Valley Cable Council. Carl Sukamel is up here on the camera. You can watch this later on Cable Channel 5. I also want to thank the Parks and Recreation Department, the Public Works Department, our Police Department, and special thanks goes out to our friends at American Legion Post 165 and also the VFW Post of West Carrollton. Let's give them a round of applause. If I missed anybody, I'm sorry. They still speak to us. If you listen quietly, you can hear them. You remember their voices from conversations you had before they gave that last measure of devotion to this nation. And even if you're not a Gold Star family member, a battle buddy, friend or relative of a fallen hero, all you have to do is look around and you will see their legacy. It's us, Americans gathered in a free society, unified with a common purpose of honoring uncommon bravery. Yes, we are their legacy. Regardless of the place or the war fought, the purity of their sacrifice is without question. Young men and women lost their lives in order to make the freedom of others possible. More than 1,200,000 U.S. heroes had their lives cut short while fighting in wars since the American Revolution. Time only permits to tell just a few of their remarkable stories, but they are representative of many. A century ago, America was engaged in a war to end all wars, which was World War I. It was there that a brash aviator from Arizona earned a reputation for recklessness. Though he irritated many of his superior officers, The 21-year-old pilot claimed a remarkable 18 aerial victories over German pilots in just 18 days. Frank Luke's missions usually involved busting observation balloons which the Germans used to sight artillery. On September the 29th, 1918, Second Lieutenant Luke shot down 3 balloons as he was being harshly pursued by 8 enemy aircraft. Under heavy fire, his own plane went down near the town of Mervaux, France. Surrounded by the enemy on the ground, he drew his automatic pistol and he defended himself gallantly until he fell dead from a wound in the chest. Frank Luke was the first pilot ever to receive the Medal of Honor. Now we're going to fast forward 50 years to another continent with yet another determined group of young American heroes. Sharon Lane was committed to caring for these heroes and entered the Army Nurse Corps in 1968. A year later, the 25-year-old from North Industry, Ohio, was working hard at the 312th Evacuation Hospital in Chu Lai, South Vietnam. Women were exempted from the draft. First Lieutenant Lane was a volunteer, and she was where she wanted to be, and that happened to be with wounded soldiers. This was not surprising to her mother, who once told a reporter that as a child she was always caring for someone or something. She always had a cat or a dog or some animal that she was taking care of. As our nation observed Vietnam War Veterans Day on March the 29th, there was no Wikipedia page for Lieutenant Lane. She did not have the medals of Audie Murphy or the fame of Sergeant Alvin York, yet she was just as much of a hero. Rocket and mortar attacks were common at her base in Chu Lai. In a letter home she wrote of one attack. She told her mother, "We got all the patients under the beds that we could, and we put mattresses over the ones in traction. Very interesting place, but hardly anyone here is scared. It's just part of the job." On June the 8th, 1969, First Lieutenant Sharon Lane made the ultimate sacrifice after a 122 millimeter rocket blasted through her ward, killing her and a 12-year-old Vietnam girl. Sharon Lane was the only female nurse to be killed by enemy fire during the Vietnam War. The heroes that we remember today are not exclusive to any gender, race, or religion. They are a diverse group, wedded to the common principle that America is a nation worth dying for. Not all these heroes died because of enemy gunfire. Military service sometimes requires dangerous risk, even when its members are far from a combat zone. Certainly, the 4 Marines who entered a CH-53E Super Stallion helicopter last month during a training exercise in Southern California did not expect it to be their final mission, yet it was. On April the 3rd, 2018, 4 young men, all in their 20s and 30s, died for the country as the result of a helicopter crash. The youngest, 24-year-old Lance Corporal Tyler Conrad of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, became a first-time father in October. The longest-serving Marine of the group, Gunnery Sergeant Richard Hawley, had completed 2 tours in Iraq. Captain Samuel Schultz, previously deployed with the 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit. His fellow pilot, First Lieutenant Samuel Phillips, was from Pinehurst, North Carolina, and joined the Marine Corps in August 2013. The hardest part of being a Marine is the tragic loss of life of a fellow brother in arms, said their commanding officer, Colonel Greg LaFleur. Those warhorse Marines brought joy and laughter to so many around them. They each served honorably, wore the uniform proudly, and were a perfect example of what makes our Marine Corps great. It's people. They will forever be in our hearts and our minds. And they will forever be in our hearts and minds as well.